For 8 years, millions of people loved her. She was the hero we were all waiting for, the girl who freed the slaves, the queen who fought for the broken and the forgotten. And then, in a single, horrifying moment, she became the most hated villain in television history. Overnight, the entire world turned against her. But here's the truth almost nobody wants to admit. She didn't suddenly turn evil. This is how Daenerys became Game of Thrones' greatest villain. Not suddenly, not randomly, but slowly, season by season, while the audience was still cheering. The signs were there from the very first episode. We just refused to see them. So how did the most beloved hero on television quietly become its greatest monster, right in front of our eyes? Let's go back, all the way to the beginning, and find every single clue we missed. To understand how she fooled all of us, you first have to understand where she began. When we first meet Daenerys Targaryen, she is nothing. A frightened, exiled girl with no home, no power, and no one in the world to protect her. Her own brother sells her, trades her away like property to a warlord in exchange for an army he is desperate to buy. She is abused. She is terrified. She has every reason to break. But she doesn't break. Slowly, something inside her hardens into steel. She stops being a victim and starts becoming a leader. The very warriors who once saw her as a prize begin to follow her. And then comes the moment that changes everything. Her husband dies. And in her grief, she does something that should be impossible. She walks straight into the flames of his funeral fire, cradling 3 ancient dragon eggs in her arms. The fire should burn her alive. Instead, when the smoke clears at dawn, she steps out completely unburned, and curled against her body are 3 newborn dragons, the first dragons the world has seen in over a century. And right there, in that very first glimpse of her power, was also the very first clue. Because notice this, her power, her destiny, her entire legend was born out of fire. Now here's where her rise truly begins. She needs an army, and she finds one in a faraway city built entirely on slavery, a place that breeds and sells human beings as soldiers, like cattle. The slave masters there mock her. They insult her to her face, certain she is nothing but a foolish girl playing at being a queen. So she offers them a deal, one of her precious dragons, in exchange for their entire army of slave soldiers. The masters laugh and agree. Sure, they have just cheated her out of a monster. But the instant the trade is done, she gives a single, quiet command, and her dragon burns the master alive where he stands. Then she frees every last slave soldier and turns them into an army loyal only to her. And we cheered. We stood up out of our seats and we cheered, because those masters were cruel. They were evil. They deserved it. But pause for just 1 second and really look at what happened. She didn't outsmart them with words. She didn't win them over with mercy. She solved the problem through overwhelming force, and because her enemies were monsters, we called it justice, and we adored her for it. From that day on, she becomes something far more than a queen. She becomes a savior. City after city, she shatters the chains of the enslaved. Thousands of freed people swarm around her, lifting her up into the air, chanting one single word: Mother. She is the breaker of chains, the mother of dragons. To the broken and the forgotten, she is hope itself, walking on 2 legs. And honestly, At this point in the story, you'd have to be made of stone not to love her. She is everything a hero is supposed to be, which is exactly why what comes next is so terrifyingly easy to ignore. Because the more she falls in love with being a savior, the more she begins to believe she can do no wrong. And that belief, that quiet, swelling certainty that she is always right, is the seed of everything that is about to go horribly wrong. So keep watching, because the cracks are about to start showing. And here's the moment those cracks first appear. She finds herself a prisoner of a band of brutal warlords, men who intend to humiliate her and throw her aside. They drag her into their most sacred temple, surrounded by all of their leaders, completely certain she is powerless. But she has done this before. She tips over the temple's burning torches and sets the whole thing ablaze. Every warlord trapped inside burns to death. And once again, she strides out of the inferno without a single mark on her skin, as thousands of warriors drop to their knees and worship her like a living god. And once again, we cheered. But notice the pattern that's forming. This is now the second time she has escaped an impossible situation by burning an entire room full of people alive. Twice now, fire has made her more powerful. Twice now, we've called it justice. And not once did we stop to wonder what it was slowly doing to her. But here's the detail almost everyone misses. Her cruelty was never only aimed at monsters. As her power grows, so does her hunger for punishment. In one conquered city, she crucifies more than 160 men, purely as revenge, nailed up in a long, agonizing line along the road. Was that justice? Or was it something much darker, simply wearing justice as a mask? And then comes the single clearest warning of them all. After a battle, 2 prisoners, a proud father and his young son, refuse to kneel and accept her as their queen. Her closest, wisest advisor begs her to show mercy, to find any other way. She doesn't listen. She has them both burned alive. The son was young. He was scared. And he died simply because he refused to kneel. And in that moment, her own advisor finally understands the truth he has been too afraid to say out loud. That the woman he serves has stopped seeing mercy as strength. To her, punishment has become easier than forgiveness. In her eyes, every single problem now has the exact same solution. But by now, she is surrounded by people too loyal or too frightened to ever stop her. And this is where many people disagree. They say her ending came out of nowhere. They say the writers turned a hero into a villain overnight. And emotionally, I understand why it felt that way. But when you look back, not at what she said, but at what she repeatedly did, the pattern becomes much harder to ignore. And there is still one final clue hiding, buried deep inside her own blood. Because to truly understand what she is about to become, you have to understand who she came from. Her father was a king that history remembers by a single, terrifying name: the Mad King. A ruler so consumed by fire that, in his final days, he plotted to burn his entire capital city to the ground. Every innocent man, woman, and child still trapped inside the walls. "Burn them all," he would whisper, again and again. "Burn them all." He was killed before he ever got the chance, and his daughter spent her entire life swearing she was nothing like him, that she was the good one, the just one, the one who would break the wheel, not the world. But watch what she does next, because she is about to finish the exact nightmare her father began. Word for word, flame for flame. And now, One by one, everything she loves begins to slip away. She loses the advisors who once dared to tell her the truth. She loses the friends who reminded her of the person she wanted to be. She loses 2 of her 3 dragons, her actual children, ripped out of the sky in front of her. And then comes the cruelest blow of all. Her dearest friend in the entire world is captured by her enemy and beheaded right before her eyes, for no reason other than to break her heart. And it works. Something inside her finally, completely snaps. The grief, the rage, the crushing loneliness, the years and years of being told she was a chosen savior, it all collapses into one single, terrible feeling. She has lost almost everyone. She has nothing left to lose. And she is sitting on top of the most powerful weapon the world has ever seen. This is the moment. This is where the hero we loved quietly dies, and the villain finally takes her place. And it all comes down to a single city. Her enemy is cornered at last. The battle is won almost before it even begins. The opposing army throws down their swords in surrender, and then, all across the city, the bells begin to ring. The ancient signal that means one thing, and one thing only: surrender. The city has given up. The fighting is over. There is no one left to kill. She has won. She sits on the back of her dragon, hovering high above a city packed with innocent people who have just laid down their weapons. People who have done nothing wrong. Families, mothers, children, the very people she once swore she would save. And this is the moment nobody saw coming. She looks down at that helpless, surrendered city, and she chooses to burn it anyway. She rains fire down on tens of thousands of innocent souls. The screams, the ash falling from the sky like snow, whole streets swallowed by flame. Not soldiers, not her enemies, just people. The savior who freed the world becomes the monster who turns it to ash. And in that one unforgivable moment, she completes the exact dream her mad father died chasing. Burn them all. And here's the truth that makes this story so brilliant and so deeply disturbing. They didn't suddenly flip a switch and make her evil just to shock us. They didn't betray who she was. The signs were planted from the very first season. The funeral fire, the burning masters, the crucified men, the blood of the mad king running through her veins. It was all there, in plain sight, the entire time. We didn't miss the clues because they were hidden. We missed them because we liked who she was burning. As long as that same fire fell on slavers, on tyrants, on the cruel and the monstrous, we called her a hero. We cheered. We celebrated her. The very day it finally fell on the innocent, we suddenly decided she was a villain. She did change, but the dangerous parts were always there. The fire, the certainty, the belief that she alone knew what was right. We just ignored those parts, because for years, they were pointed at people we hated. So all those years we spent loving her, they weren't a lie. They were a trick, a mirror held up to every single one of us, quietly showing just how easily we will forgive almost anything, as long as it's done by someone we have already decided to love. Because Daenerys did not become terrifying when she stopped believing in justice. She became terrifying because she believed in it too completely, and eventually decided that anyone standing in her way deserved to burn. So I have to ask you, was she truly a villain? Or was she a broken girl with absolute power, worshipped for too long, challenged too little, and finally consumed by the very fire that made us love her? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. And if you think her fall was tragic, wait until you see the betrayal that destroyed an entire family in just 2 minutes.
the most shocking moment in the whole series. Watch that one next.